This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. The Browns have had a couple pieces of troubling news break in the last few days. It has been told to us that Grant Delpit, who we all thought had a pretty good chance to play, given that he was practicing, he looked good in practice. Now we're told that he's not going to play on Sunday and that it's due to his normal rehab routine. I don't know how much of that I believe, but bottom line, Grant Delpit's not playing versus the Houston Texans. Also, Juan Thornhill, who seems to be questionable every week, he's questionable. And then Denzel Ward, who had the weirdest injury saga I've seen this week, he was reported to be questionable for the game because of a knee injury he sustained during practice, right? So that's what the initial report was. Then Ian Rappaport puts out that Denzel Ward is okay. I'm not sure what to do with that, to be honest with you. I think Denzel Ward is okay. I'm not getting the vibe from people that Denzel Ward's injury at practice was so severe or so serious that he won't play. Because if that were the case, it would probably be known, right? Like that he had an injury, and that he's not going to play in this game. I don't get that vibe from anybody who watched the open part of practice that was the case. So if that's what Ian Rappaport's saying, I got to take it, but like with a little bit of a grain of salt. But all of those injuries are focused in the secondary. And the Browns are playing a quarterback who's very interesting in CJ Stroud. Now, he's a very interesting quarterback to cover and to look at how he's perceived, especially in this market, because there are a lot of Ohio State fans who also root for the Cleveland Browns, due to Ohio State and Cleveland Browns being basically the two teams of the state. But since that is the case, there's a lot of fans of Ohio State football that really like CJ Stroud, and CJ Stroud's been really, really good, but their love of CJ Stroud also, I think, makes them fear CJ Stroud a little bit disproportionately. Not saying that CJ Stroud is not a good quarterback or even a great quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback, but he, like any other quarterback you would play, has weaknesses. We can go through Lamar Jackson's game, and he's going to be a two-time MVP, and look at his weaknesses. We can look through CJ Stroud's game and look at his weaknesses. Now, the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to CJ Stroud is mobility. Because CJ Stroud is in a unique tier of athletic ability. He's not a bad athlete, but he's not what I would deem an athlete at the quarterback position. I think an athlete at the quarterback position that's Josh Allen, that's, Lamar Jackson. Like, those are guys who their athletic ability is like a key part of your game planning when you play them. You spy them. You have to worry about them running the ball. They're two-phase athletes, right? Like 5-level scores in basketball, they're two-phase athletes where you have to worry about them as serious run threats, directly, indirectly, as scramblers, worry about them on the run, worry about them in the pocket. Like, they're 5-level football scores is what I'll deem it. CJ's not that level of athlete. CJ is what I would put in the Jacoby Brissett tier of athletic ability. Like, he has good feet and he's coordinated, but he's not the fastest accelerator in the world, and he doesn't have great top speed, which makes him a poor run threat. So while he's able to maneuver the pocket pretty well, while he's able to scramble behind the line of scrimmage pretty well, he's not somebody who's going to often scramble for like 10, 15 yards, at least in the NFL. And he's somebody who you can catch on some of these boots, or if you get him pressured and he rolls out, he's not that hard to catch. You just want to make sure you grab him because he is a little bit slippery, and he's a bigger person than you would think. Based on what he looks like on TV, he is much bigger than that in person. So you want to make sure you get him down. Like, here's an example of a play where you can get CJ Stroud where you might not be able to get somebody who's more of an athlete at that position, right? Like CJ, he's trying to elude this rush, and we've seen like Deshaun do this in his prime. We've seen, Lamar Jackson do this in his prime, where he could just break that and run off. But you can see here, not only is he not able to escape the immediate threat, you can see how is that Caleb Vaughn Chazon about to chase him down too if he would have broke that. And you could go through his tape, you'll see multiple examples of CJ getting kind of hawked down when he tries to roll out, especially to his left when he gets pressure. He's not the greatest athlete in the world, which means that pressure does get to CJ Stroud. Like, if you pressure CJ Stroud, and his pressure to sack rate, I believe, is 19.6, which is pretty high, you have a pretty good chance of sacking him or really affecting the throw. Now, you have to be a good tackler when you go at CJ Stroud. You cannot afford to have a ton of missed tackles, because there's another area of the game in which CJ Stroud is absolutely 1000% filthy deadly in. And that is basically, I'll deem it like this. If CJ Stroud sees it for even a millisecond, it's over. And he doesn't have to see it, he can anticipate it. So you cannot let him sit back there and process, basically. You got to constantly have that picture change for him. You can't have him be comfortable, because if he processes for even a half a second, it might be wraps. This play wasn't completed, but just look at how the little fraction of time that he has to kind of see this pop open, right? So he gets pressured, and then 95 misses that tackle. You can see right here, everything looks pretty covered. But right here, he sees 31 across the face with Tank Dell. So you can see 31 on that 40-yard line. He gets crossed right there. CJ peeps that for just a second, right? He peeps it there. He sees it, and then he anticipates it, and then throws a laser right to Tank Dell. It's just a little bit too strong. All he needed was a half a second to see it. This is another example. This one is completed, and this kind of shows you what I mean by he's more of a Jacoby Brissett athlete instead of a runner, because he does get pressure here, right? He rolls out, but you see how the pressure, it's only but so far. He anticipates it, so he keeps floating back. And then, again, he gets here, and then he sees it immediately. Before it even happens, he just sees it. He sees that 30-yard line, the deep post. He sees that safety with his back turned, 31's numbers, and he knows, I have this one-on-one. I could just throw this. And then he darts that thing right to Tank Dell. You could not let him get time to process back there. The key to beating CJ Stroud this week was never going to be Denzel Ward, was never going to be your specific players in the secondary. And it was always going to come down to this pressure, right? Because if you let CJ Stroud kind of chill back here with no pressure, you see how they just 4-man rush, nobody really getting to him. You allow him to see it, he will see it, and he will throw it, and he will be accurate. And then 31 played that terribly too. But that's what you need this week, is to be confident on that. Now, can sometimes CJ get a little bit too reliant on how much he anticipates? Absolutely. We can go back to this game versus the Arizona Cardinals, where he is just a little bit too reliant on his ability to anticipate. And you can kind of take advantage of that if you get pressure. So here, CJ Stroud, they get a little bit of pressure. He throws this thing early before he sees where that safety's going, and he thinks he could beat it over top, and boom, intercepted. Right? He's going to try your corners. He's going to give your safeties, your corners, some opportunities to make some plays here. Look here, you see the pressure around him on this one, where it's just chaos. So he just kind of throws one, hoping that somebody's going to pop open, and then it gets tipped. He will throw into traffic every once in a while, and he will miss. And then this one right here is an out route that he just gets hopped, right? And the out route, 33 does a good job of hopping it. And we can go back there and see there was pressure, right? You see the pressure on his back foot going away. That ball's not as good. When you have to throw anticipatory and you're not really set in your base, it can lead to disasters like this. So what's the key to beating CJ Stroud? Is the key to beating almost any good quarterback in the NFL, and that's getting pressure on CJ Stroud. He's a great player. He's had a great rookie year, but there are also some things that he hasn't experienced yet, right? He hasn't played in the playoffs. He hasn't played a defense like the Cleveland Browns. When he did play a defense that is similar to the Cleveland Browns, he had his worst game of his career versus the New York Jets in week 14, where they lost 33-6. If you get pressure on CJ, you can speed up his decision making and make him throw the ball into tighter windows. Now, we saw back in college, the Georgia game, where he was able to make some plays, even despite the pressure. Again, not saying CJ Stroud is not capable of making throws under pressure. But if you're looking for when CJ Stroud is at his weakest, it's with pressure. He's just, look, his Pro Football Focus grades. Let me show you this. So his Pro Football Focus grades for the 2023 NFL season are usually quite spectacular, right? He's an excellent passer. When he's kept clean, he does a great job. When he's under pressure, though, 48.9 Pro Football Focus grade with 8 big time throws and 11 turnover worthy plays. When he's not blitzed, he's excellent. And when he is blitzed, he is okay at a 68.9 Pro Football Focus grade. Now, kept clean, he's a clean and quick decision maker, right? If you keep the pocket clean, you allow him the process, he's going to get rid of that ball in 2.5 seconds. But if you get him under pressure, he doesn't trust himself to stand in that pocket through the mess and throw the football as much, which is why his time to throw is 3.67 seconds, which means when the pressure comes, he either throws blindly into the middle of the field, or he's trying to scramble away. We already established CJ Stroud, not the best athlete in the world, especially when he's trying to run away from pressure. Like Myles Garrett is faster than CJ Stroud, so you're able to get to him that way. And then when he is blitzed, he gets rid of the ball quickly, but he tends to make a lot of mistakes. 3 big time throws, 7 turnover worthy plays when he is. The key to CJ Stroud this week in stopping CJ Stroud is pressure. It would be nice to have Denzel Ward. It would be great to have Grant Delpit, because they're guys who can make plays off of him trying to anticipate. But you need to get pressure. You need to get that line going. You need to get sacks early. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, I think the game plan should be to make sure to rattle them early, right? Like, don't let them get anything on their first script. Don't let them get comfortable. Don't let them feel okay. Like, let them feel that natural angst of the playoff environment, and then build on top of it by pushing them back consistently. Take some risk early, and make sure that they are reasonable risk, right? Like, don't just give him an open field, but don't play a ton of man. Make him uncomfortable early, and see what he can do to hit him. And be careful, because they're going to run some of those Pittsburgh man beaters on you, but they've been better, the Browns, at not getting beat with those. But that's what I think the game plan is with CJ. Like any other quarterback, you would want to get pressure. He's a good quarterback. He's accurate. You don't want him to get time to process and see things, because he's accurate and he can throw that ball anywhere on the field. But that's my thoughts on how the Browns are going to stop CJ Stroud. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Pete.